Welcome to that Groovy Scoobcast, your go-to audio hub for all things Scooby-Doo. My name's Derek.
And I'm Shannon.
Shannon, how was your day today?
Oh, that's a weird question. Hi guys, welcome back to that Groovy Scoobcast.
Today we are going to be watching The Secret of the Ghost Rig, episode 3 of Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. Shannon, what were your overall thoughts on this episode today?
I mean, it's still one of my favorite seasons. This episode in particular, it was okay.
Okay.
Not one of my favorite episodes in the season, but it was still good.
I agree. Before we start talking about this episode, though, we are going to kick off the Mystery Machine Match, our weekly trivia competition, where Shannon and I try to figure out which one of us knows Scooby-Doo better than the other. Currently, our tallies are sitting with me with 18 points and Shannon with 23. She has been maintaining a lead all season long, and it's actually getting on my nerves.
I'm really excited.
I wake up with nightmares thinking about it.
The cold sweats.
Oh, yes. Well, as always, Shannon, you can kick off the questions today.
What ancient land does the Scooby-Doo gang travel back in time to when they meet Genie? Egypt or Persia?
They traveled back...
Wow. Fuck me.
I'm over it.
Okay.
Podcast is canceled. Do it again.
Egypt or Persia?
They went back in time to Persia, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Here is your first question. An episode of Scooby's All-Star Laugh Olympics features a dune buggy race in what blistering hot desert?
The Sahara?
Yes, you are correct.
It's the only desert I know.
You had like a panic attack look on your face.
I was thinking like what that buggy was. I thought you were going to ask me the name of the buggy.
Oh.
And I was like...
Speed buggy, though.
Yeah, and I knew that we saw him and I was like, fuck, I don't remember his name.
What's your next question?
What country star sang the Scooby-Doo theme song in Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost? I can give you a hint if needed.
What's the hint?
He has a daughter who's...
Many people have daughters.
Who's very famous in our generation.
I have no idea.
Billy Ray Cyrus.
I would never have gotten that. These are the things that I don't know.
I felt like that would be like a fun fact that you'd know.
No, not the fun fact I would know. Here's your next question. Many stars that appeared in the new Scooby-Doo movies were under contract to what television network? NBC or CBS?
CBS?
Yep, you are right. I did not know that one either, as a matter of fact. So.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Good guess.
Fun facts today.
What's your last question?
Whose ghost does Scooby-Doo and the Mystery Inc. kids meet in the Loch Ness mess? George Washington or Paul Revere?
Paul Revere.
Yeah.
Okay, here is your last question for today. What was Scrappy kept in on his train ride to Scooby-Doo? A paper bag or a crate?
A crate.
You are correct.
Because he popped right the fuck out of it and scared me.
Ah, shit, Scrappy.
Because Scooby was just hanging out at the
train
at
station.
the train station, and then his nephew suddenly bursts out of a box.
Well, it looks like you are maintaining your lead today, even increasing the margin. I am sitting with 20 points now, while you are at 26 points.
Oh.
I'm over it. Over it.
We're going to start, like, because we're dwindling down in our pile.
Oh, like
of
the
questions.
question pile? Yeah.
So we are going to get to, like, the super hard ones that neither of us know sooner or later.
We're not even going to be able to be like, no, that's a little too hard today.
Yeah, like, I can't do that one today. Like, it's going to be like, no, you're fucked. Like, you have to answer this.
You have to answer this. Well, that was this week's Mystery Machine Match. So are you ready to move on to our review today?
Of course.
Today, like we said, we're watching Secret of the Ghost Rig. This is from Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, And the premise we're going to read off is coming from Scoobypedia. The gang have to stop a ghost truck from haunting a highway, help Daphne dodge Rung Ladderton, a boy who her parents want her to date because he's heir to the Ladderton Ladder Company, help Fred's dad get reelected for mayor, and find out who's stealing the town's crystal doorknobs.
It is one hefty to-do list.
That's one hefty sentence. Like, there's one period in that premise. It's at the end.
It's at the end.
But yeah, there is quite a few things going on in this episode, as a matter of fact. They do seem all, like, disjointed and disconnected, but in a way, they all tie together.
Yeah.
It was nice to see, I guess. The episode starts off with a cop pulling over a teenager on the side of the road. They are, like, on the edge of this cliff. It's overseeing the waters, like, right by Crystal Cove. The cop walks up to the student. The student? I don't know that he's a student.
Mm-hmm.
The cop walks up to the teenager's car, and he's like, so, do you know why I pulled you over? And he's like, why? And he's like, for speeding.
Oh, no, the kid knew why. Because the kid went, oh, for speeding? And he went, yeah, get home safe.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. He was just like, okay, just so long. Yeah, that's what it was. He was like, just so long as you know.
Just
have a good night, drive safe.
If you knew that you were speeding. It was very much like stories that I hear my parents talk about when, like, with drunk driving and everything, where a cop would pull you over and be like, just go get some coffee, or like, get home safe. Like, they would pull you over because they knew you were drunk, but they'd let you go. So that happened back in the day. That doesn't happen nowadays.
No, and it shouldn't.
No. But so that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah. So we go to the Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated theme song. The episode now begins again with the gang. They are at City Hall. Daphne is notably not with the gang, though. Fred has been asked to come to City Hall by his dad because he needs Fred to help him get reelected.
Which, like, I'm sorry, if you're mayor and you're relying on your son to, like, help you get reelected, maybe you need to work on, like,
aren't there
voters.
People on the payroll that could be doing this? Like, your secretary, your assistant?
You hire an election team.
Yeah.
So, Fred's dad needs to hire an election team and, like, do all that jazz.
Right. Mr. Jones already has a pamphlet drawn up that he wants Fred to make 40,000 copies of.
Can we also note that Velma hates Fred's dad?
I never saw that coming. Like, just, making a glance at this show. But evidently, because, what was it?
He says something about the parking meters.
Oh, yeah, because he said that he wants to teach Fred the family business. Which, wait, family business?
It's
You're
politics. That's what he says later on. Yeah, he goes, our family business is politics. But then later on in the episode introduces Fred as the future mayor of Crystal Cove.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, because when he said it, I was just like, what? I don't think that's how that works, sir.
But he did include that in the family business and included, like, figuring out where to put the next parking meters. And Velma, like, off on the side looks at Shaggy and Scooby and she's like, I know where you can put another parking meter. I was like, ooh.
Like, she does not like Fred's dad. Now, we have a theory.
The theory is that because the pamphlet is red, Mr. Jones is Republican. Which
would make sense that Velma would be liberal.
I can see her being liberal. Have you seen her parents?
Yeah, her parents are very, very liberal. She is dating Shaggy, who comes off as a more liberal person.
Not his parents, though.
No, but he would come off, him and his dog.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, yeah.
Very liberal people.
Wasn't it? Didn't you say something about how he had a talking dog so he couldn't be a Republican when we were watching the episode?
Yeah, Republicans don't have talking dogs.
Oh.
That's just, it's a fact.
It's a fact.
I didn't know
fact
if you guys know.
Of life.
When talking dogs become a thing, if you're a Republican, it's not allowed. Sorry. But so it would make sense that she'd be a liberal. So the fact that, Fred's dad is, I just got such deja vu. I'm so sorry. The fact that Fred's dad is
Republican, she's just like, no, I'm gonna vote for George Avocados.
Avocado?
Avocados. He says it so like,
fuck you.
No. George often says his last name like It's such a classy name. Like,
Avocados.
it's Avocados.
It's because with shitty names like that, you really gotta say it like it means something. Otherwise, people are gonna be like, haha, free Shavakadoo.
Don't make me insert another vine like we did in the What's New Scooby-Doo episode a couple weeks ago. So earlier, Velma had mentioned to Fred that Daphne was sorry that she couldn't be here. She would really love to be here if she could. So we do cut to Daphne. She's at home.
Humming the Scooby-Doo theme song.
The Where Are You theme song, to be specific, which was kind of nice.
It was cute.
She was making a new ascot for Fred.
I was questioning whether she was making a new one or if she was sewing...
Like an old one that he has
like fixing an old one. Because at one point...
Well, his neck size increases 2.5 inches. He might have ripped it by accident.
Well, no, because like later on in the episode, when him and Rung Ladderton switch...
Ascots?
Daphne makes a point to say, he never takes off his lucky ascot. Luffy. Fred never takes off his lucky ascot.
Yes.
So maybe this is like his lucky one... And she's fixing it for him.
Who knows? She's called downstairs by her father and mother. They are wanting to introduce her to Rung Ladderton, the heir to the Ladderton Ladder Company. He just sounds like a great person based on that description.
He sounds gross. And with the first name like Rung, I literally wrote Rung Ladderton, ew.
He gave Daphne a pendant when he shook her hand.
He snuck it so slyly.
Yes, it's in the shape of a ladder, which
cute.
Okay. His voice infuriates me.
Yeah.
I hate it.
He's just annoying.
He is annoying. But Daphne's parents are all about him. Cuz I guess rich families like to, keep the wealth.
Yeah, and it makes sense, but also you would think her parents would know.
Know what?
That he's not rich. Are we gonna? Do you want to say that now?
We'll say it. Yeah, I guess so. Rung Ladderton is the villain. His motive is that he's trying to find this diamond that George Avocados' father once stole and hid somewhere in Crystal Cove in disguise as a crystal doorknob. And I guess the diamond was going to save him financially because the Ladderton Ladder Company is going out of business or they're going broke or whatever.
Yeah. But so my whole thing is you would think
they'd have some kind of indication that something's going on.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe not. I don't know. It's just it seems like
I doubt they're investing.
Well, no, but just when you're marrying your youngest daughter off to a rich family.
Do your research.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Fucking do your research, Mom and Dad.
I made a note that when he gave Daphne the ladder pendant, she responded by saying that she already had a pendant. And she pulled out the locket that she found in the first Mystery Incorporated episode, the magnifying glass.
Mm-hmm. I noticed that. That was cute.
I thought it was cute. Except the thing that annoys me about the pendant is that it changes proportions episode to episode when we see it. Sometimes it's pretty big, and it's probably about the size of your hand, if not bigger. But in this case, it was kind of tiny when Daphne pulled it out from underneath her green scarf. And I'm like, oh, wow, it's shrunk.
It was because it was the size that a locket would be.
When Rung leaves, he had already said that he would make plans. They would go on a date. Daphne sits down on the stairs.
He says, he made some pun on his name.
Oh, it was rung you later or something like that.
I'll rung you later.
That's what it was, yeah.
It was
so,
stupid.
I'm internally just...
hated him.
Exactly. Daphne sits on the stairs and she's kind of worried because she likes Fred, and while they're not official or anything like that, because they're just friends, she said that it feels like cheating.
So her mom, I love her mom, by the way.
Oh my God,
Her
yes.
mom sits down and goes, honey, and kind of just so sweet. I understand that you like Fred, but you need to try a new cut of meat. Just try a T-bone or a steak. And Daphne's response is, but I don't like meat. I like vegetables like Fred.
I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
I don't either. It's as if saying that, Fred's not a boy or Fred's...
crippled?
Yeah.
I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
It was just... And I think, in this episode, you actually, I think, said it, where you were is Daphne a vegetarian?
And now I'm wondering, because I'm trying to remember other Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated episodes, and I'm sure there is an instance she eats meat, but I don't recall. But like that's just such a detail I don't pay attention to with Daphne, because Shaggy's always been the one that's played up as a vegetarian. But I can't think of a single moment. But I mean, I guess we'll have to watch out for that, because this line of dialogue kind of indicates that she is.
Well, and then specifically when her and Rung go out to dinner, she orders a salad that looks like, I mean, a whole bunch of leaves scooped up.
And she was also only eating fries while she was waiting for him to show up.
Yeah.
We'll keep track of this. We're going to have to put a note on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that it's funny when Nan is like trying to explain to her, like, you know, you should try some different meat. And it's like, yes, be a whore.
I don't like sausage.
Anyway, back at the city hall, Scooby decides to try and use the copier.
Which...
Why?
Okay, so Scooby grabs the pamphlet and then throws it in the copier and just starts typing buttons, and everyone else is just standing there watching him do this. And my first reaction was, who just lets a dog do this? But okay.
It explodes. Ink goes everywhere. It gets all over George Avocados.
So this is where we first meet him.
Yes. So he is the person who's going to be running against Mayor Jones in the upcoming election. He wears a suave green outfit. He looks, I don't know, Latino?
Maybe, yeah.
He kind of looks like that. His complexion gives that off. But yes, he's looking to, you know, become the new mayor. He is pissed about the ink being on him.
I mean, that's fair.
Yes, but then
Suits are expensive.
But then he also says that this is Mayor Jones's way of playing dirty, when Mayor Jones, I think, had already at this point left.
No, he didn't, because after that, the Mayor Jones walks up and he goes, avocados. And he goes, avocados.
You're right, but like, Scooby's the one that was playing with the copier.
But, I mean, the only thing that I can say...
George conflates a lot of issues that happened in relation to the election. Like, hey, all this ink that's on me, it's the mayor's fault. Later on, when the doorknobs are missing doorknobs means angry voters. Like, what is your logic?
My only thought is that maybe he is, like, helping control the news.
Fake news.
Fake news.
Fake news in Crystal Cove.
Because then he, you know, because he could be like, maybe he's like the news reporter. And so he goes like, oh, all the doorknobs are missing and your mayor's not doing anything about it. Tonight at 11. I don't know.
You really played that up.
Yeah.
Proud of you.
Thanks.
But yeah, George corrects him saying avocados, and he went on his way. And Fred's like, who's that? And the mayor's just like, George Avocados.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like that was intentional. It wasn't like a mistake on his part. No, he's just intentionally dissing George.
It's one of those, have you ever seen where it's like it's a Harry Potter thing, but where they were like, every time that Harry interacted with Voldemort, he should have just called him Tim. And then he would be like, no, it's Tom. And it's not even Tom, it's Voldemort.
I've never seen that, but it sounds hilarious. We now see the whole gang together. They have gathered in the Mystery Machine. Daphne's with them now. Fred asks her how her day went. And she responds.
She responds so fucking sketchy.
Yeah, she's like, that's a weird question. I think it's funny just because she didn't do anything.
No,
though. Like her parents introduced her to Rung.
But she did say it felt like cheating.
But she hasn't even gone on a date with him yet.
But still, she's so innocent.
And she clearly doesn't even like him, though.
No, I know.
Like, she's not interested in the slightest. They decide to stop at the clam cabin along the beach because the gang is hungry.
And this is where we find out that there's no doorknobs.
Yeah, so they come up to the restaurant and the doorknob is missing. They're like, what's going on? And this is when we see Skipper Shelton. He is the owner of this establishment. He used to be a sailor. He walks up to the window from the inside of the building, and he says that the clam cabin is closed today because the doorknobs are missing. Someone had come and stole it. And then he says, just like the clam that stole me nose. And he starts pointing at his nose.
And his nose is missing.
He has an eye patch over it, but it's just so funny.
He kind of reminds me of, like, an otter.
An otter?
Yeah.
Why?
Just his whole face reminds me of an otter.
Note of the day. Shannon thinks that Shelton looks like an otter.
He does. So they start to kind of walk away, and the gang sort of, like, disperses, but they stay in the general area. And Velma grabs Shaggy, and she goes, you know, I've got plenty of food back at my house.
Velma is ready to fuck.
And I think we say this in every episode of just, like,
with Mr.
she's
Incorporated?
ready.
Yeah, she is trying to get with Shaggy. Shaggy says that they're actually going to go ahead and get pizza and has Scooby stick out his tongue because, as it turns out, Scooby has a tattooed map on his tongue of every pizza parlor and establishment in Crystal Cove.
Yeah.
You questioned that this was legal.
Okay, so my question with
tattoo dogs?
No, because, well, okay. So my reasoning behind this was because tattoo parlors used to buy pigs and practice tattooing. They'd have the new artist tattoo on pigs because pig skin is so similar to human skin.
Okay.
That got made illegal. So would tattooing a dog be the... I mean, if
I don't know.
And my thing is, like, is it different for Scooby because he's, like, consciously aware of himself and, like...
He's willing to give consent.
Yeah, like, he can give consent that no other animal can. So if he's like, yo, this is fine, let me sign a waiver real quick, like, would that hold up in court?
See, didn't we question at one point if Scooby is, like, able to vote or something?
Yeah, that's a question there, too. Like, how far does that go? If your dog is consciously aware and, like...
Does he have rights?
Yeah, what rights do your animals have? Like...
But moving on from this, the gang are, like, kind of on their way home now. It's dark out. And this is when they first encounter the ghost truck. It's a large semi-truck, and it... Did we even talk about how the ghost truck ran off the cop earlier?
No.
I think we completely skipped that. I don't know how we skipped that. Okay, let me mention that real quick.
So as, like, the cop is walking away from the teenager, this huge semi-truck just goes plowing by, and so the cop runs back, hops on his motorcycle, and starts chasing him. And as he's, like, yelling to the truck, which the truck is also on fire.
It's on fire. It's got some kind of a paint on it that makes it look ghostly and old.
Yeah, and then, so the cop is just yelling, like, do you know you're speeding? Do you know that, like, you're speeding, sir? And, like, so then the truck just runs the cop off the road. Mm-hmm. And for a second, Derek and I were just like, did they just fucking kill a cop
the motorcycle
in the first 2 seconds?
It just plunged into the
ocean,
water.
Yeah.
Like, it was just gone. It, you know, the camera moves up and now we see the cop hanging on a branch. But I'm just like, oh my God.
Like... Scooby-Doo, in the first 2 minutes of an episode, almost killed a police officer.
That's great. Great work, Ghost Truck.
Like, that is one political standpoint.
And then the intro music begins for Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. So, this is when the gang first encounters the ghost truck. Like we said before, the truck is, like, on fire. It's honking its horn super loud. And, you know, based on their angle and everything like that, it doesn't even look like anyone's driving it.
And then also, like, the whole point with the ghost truck is it just drives like it gives no fucks.
Oh, yeah. It's destroying signs. It's destroying gates and fences on either side of the road. It's not afraid to run people off the road, as we saw with the cop.
It's driving the way I want to drive. But it's illegal to do that.
This is why I don't drive with you. This is why I drive, as a matter of fact.
Actually.
My note following that was just that, you know, the truck attacks the Mystery Machine and they come close to dying.
My note for it was that Fred is actually a decent getaway driver.
Especially when he's driving in reverse.
Yeah. So Fred, basically the way that this whole sequence goes out is they're driving, the ghost truck attacks, they start gunning it, trying to get away from them. Somehow, like, I think that the mystery machine goes off the ledge and makes us think that, like, they've also plummeted into the ocean. And it, like, cuts to commercial, I put in quotations. And then when the screen, like, it blacks out for a second, when it comes back, the whole gang's, like, screaming. But then it turned out that they, like, just went to a ledge a little bit further down. So Fred reverses, and then I think somehow he ends up in reverse. And so they're staring at the truck, and he's driving in reverse. He's a great driver that way. And then he, like, cuts the lights, pulls into, like, a little cove.
No, because they ended up driving through that tunnel, remember?
Oh, yeah.
They drove through the tunnel, it followed them, and that's when they pulled off on the side.
Yeah.
And then the ghost truck, went around the corner and disappeared.
But it was insane.
It was. Oh, yeah, there was a lot going on. Like, I didn't even bother with it. Like, it was basically just a car chase.
Yeah.
They do end up calling the police. Sheriff Stone, our favorite cop in the world,
has the best line ever.
So Scooby's like explaining to Sheriff Stone what's going on. He's like, ghost truck, like he's in such a panicked state.
And so Sheriff Stone goes, so you're telling me that the ghost truck disappeared like a ghost truck?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. The gang tries to like prevent him from going on the tirade of like, this could be a new tourist attraction. He's like, wait. Didn't you tell me that no one was driving the truck? Well, yeah. See? Textbook ghost truck, case closed. It's like, textbook ghost truck.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it happens often in Crystal Cove.
In, the surrounding area.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I wrote this note down. I'm not really sure when it came into play, but I wrote, what is Crystal Cove? Because, like, and I think it had to do with the tourist attractions, that I'm like, there's just tourist attractions everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, you just, like, that something new happens, and they're like, well, it's just a new tourist attraction. Like, it's good. It's all good.
Who, like, keeps track of this shit?
Well, and then also it
Do they have a department?
And I would say, like, my question also comes back into play when Fred makes the comment later on of like, oh, we'll just trap it in one of my traps. And I'm like, so does Fred just have multiple traps around Crystal Cove?
He's prepared for any kind of potential tourist attraction to spring up in Crystal Cove.
Like, I literally gave Derek a scenario of just like, oh, sorry, I was late for work. I got
fucking
caught.
Fred Jones.
I got trapped in the Jones kids trap again. And they'd be like, oh, it's fine. It happened to Derek like on Tuesday. You're good. Like, it just happens so often.
My next note was that Fred borrowed Daphne's phone to take a photo of what he thought was, tire tracks on the ground. He said that the phone's low-res camera would brighten the contrast, allowing them to see the tracks better. So my thing is like, okay, Daphne's rich as fuck. She's the richest girl in Crystal Cove, and she has a shitty-ass phone like this.
Like, because my thing is, yes, a low-res camera does brighten up the contrast because it like, finds the happy medium, whatever bunch of camera mumbo-jumbo I'm not going to get into right now. But yes, that does work. But not on Daphne's phone. Like, she would have the new iPhone 700. It doesn't even fucking exist yet, but she has it.
Here's my thing with this show, like, the show in general. It has a really weird relationship with, like, real life when it comes to, like, time and technology. I feel like their phones are like flip phones. Like I think Fred has a flip phone, which is so bizarre because this show is supposed to take place in like the 20-teens era.
I think it was like 2016, wasn't it?
No, that's Be Cool Scooby-Doo.
Oh, okay.
This show came out in 2010, and like I've drawn up a timeline of like all of the events of Mr. Incorporated, like back to things we're not going to spoil today, but based on the timeline, this is supposed to take place in like the 20-teens. Mm-hmm. And, like, the technology just doesn't really seem to keep up. So, like, it makes me think of that movie, It Follows.
Yeah.
Where the technology was, like, intentionally misleading, where you never really knew what time period you were in. Because some of the things that the kids were using were really retro, and it may just speak to them being hipsters. But then there were also pieces of technology that doesn't exist at all. Like, it's weird. Mr. Incorporated is just really weird in that sense.
Yeah.
But my next note about Fred having the phone is that he sees that she's getting a phone call.
And he just answers it.
He just answers it. He's like, Daphne's phone. Fucking rude. I'd be pissed. Like, I don't care if you're my best friend. Don't answer my phone.
I wouldn't.
Like, don't.
The only way that
I would never answer your phone unless you tell me to.
Well, and the only way I would ever answer your phone is if it was, like, your mom or, like...
someone you know.
Yeah, like if it's, like, family and I know them and you're, like, in the bathroom. And I'd be like, oh, hey, hold on one second, Derek's in the bathroom.
Right, but, like, if it's my coworker or my boss, like, you don't know who they are.
No.
Don't answer my phone.
I'm not going to answer Derek's phone.
But it does turn out it's Rung Ladderton. He is wanting to set up a date with Daphne.
And specifically what Rung says is, oh, I must have missed your phone call. Like,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so it was
like that you got that.
I was just like, wow, you're fucking pretentious.
He is such an ass. But he decides to set up the date at the Bloody Steak. This is a restaurant that we're going to see frequently throughout the show. It's like a vampire themed like steakhouse, essentially.
It's kind of fancy.
Kind of. And Fred's like really excited for Dad, and he's like, oh, he sounds like a really fun guy, and you should go. Bloody Steak is to die for. Like, go. And Daphne's like put off by this. She's like, you want me to go on the date? And and you see Shaggy and Velma in the background like, Fred.
Yeah.
You fucking idiot.
And Fred is also like, Fred likes Daphne, but he's just, first off, just a little thick. And then second, like, he's just trying to be a supportive friend. Like, because they're at this point right now where if you don't like me, if I don't like you, like, it's going to ruin the relationship. And
I have a quote that I'll mention later that kind of expands on that, but...
And I also want to point out, too, that Fred, when he's telling her about the Bloody Steak, and he goes, oh, you have to try. And I don't remember what he told her to try, but I remember it being some type of meat. And she was just like, oh, okay. And like kind of was
going back to the vegetarian
thing. And I was just like, I'm like, so is she not? Because like you would think Fred would know, and maybe he wouldn't be like, hey, you should try this meat. I also thought it was funny because her mom had just said you need to try a new type of meat, and Fred was offering a new type of meat for her to try at the restaurant.
Oh my god, the secret subtle writings of Mystery Incorporated just got so much deeper.
I just thought it was a cute little connect. Like, oh, they have this new dish, you have to try it.
Yeah. They cut to the next day. Fred, Velma, Shaggy, and Scooby, they are at City Hall, and they notice that the crystal doorknobs are continuing to go missing. The doorknob that's supposed to go into Mayor Jones's office is gone, and this is when George Avocados shows up, and he's just like, missing doorknobs equals angry voters. Flawed logic there. Anyway, Fred... I don't remember how this came up, but they decided to set a trap in City Hall. I guess for...
Trapping reasons?
I guess for trying to find whoever is stealing the doorknobs, because that's kind of another side mystery of theirs that they're not really entirely focused on, but the trap that Fred set up involved a shark tank and a really large great white. Like, oh, I want to know where he got that thing.
He got it from the shark guy.
The shark guy?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, Fred's a trapper.
Give me his number. I need it.
Okay. I mean, you gotta ask Fred, but...
They get a phone call from Angel Dynamite, our other favorite character in Crystal Cove. She is letting them in on some information based on the tire tracks that they found at the scene earlier in the episode. The tires that made these tracks were only sold to 2 people in Crystal Cove recently. The first being G. Nerno Treadall, and the second being George Avocados.
Now, first off, I want to say, from the beginning of time, Derek and I have always said, there is a bad guy and there is a asshole. So right when we were given those names, I went, okay, so Avocados is the asshole.
He's too obvious.
Yeah. So I immediately, like, my note is, it's going to be the random name.
The G. Nerno Treadall, yeah.
And then I also want to point out that while they were setting up the trap, George Avocados came out from one of the rooms, straightened up his suit, and walked out.
He was fucking an intern, Shannon.
Of course.
That's definitely what he was doing.
I mean, because the thing is, he's not mayor. There's no
reason. He doesn't work at City Hall.
There's no reason for him to be in there.
Yeah. he is not on city council or anything like that. He's, to our knowledge at least, just a regular Crystal Cove citizen who wants to be mayor.
Who's fucking an intern.
Evidently, because that's the only reason I can think of him being at City Hall that late at night.
Yeah.
Because at this point, it's nighttime.
So also, the way that we see the trap work the first time, not fully because it cuts to George Avocados coming out of the one room where he's fucking the intern. Because it turns out that Fred Jones's dad is also there.
Which makes sense, though. He's the mayor.
He's the mayor. No, I'm not saying
there.
that.
Okay.
No. But, so he gets caught in the trap, and it ends with, like, him upside down over the shark tank, and he yells, "Screaming pandas."
Well, he always says things like, he's kind of like the Adam West era of Robin.
Yeah.
When he's just like, what is it? Like, holy something Batman.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of what Mr. Jones does.
Yeah.
I think it's great. Screaming pandas. We now cut to Daphne. She is sitting at the bloody stake.
She's had 12 hands full of finger fries.
Daphne, settle off on the fries.
I mean, it is a lot of fries, too.
Those are huge fries.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're huge. It sucks that Rung is leaving her hanging, though. Like, I know that he's off being the villain, but...
It sucks for Daphne.
It does.
Not that I wanted her with him anyway, but, like...
That's rude.
He's fucking pretentious and I hate him.
While she's sitting there, waiting for him to show up, the gang is being attacked by the truck. They were originally following George because they were trying to, track him down, see if he's up to anything.
So wait, so George also bought those tires?
Yes.
What did George do with the tires?
I don't know.
Why does George have a semi?
I didn't think about that at all.
Mystery Incorporated, please explain.
I thought you were going to say that when he disappears in the fog, we don't see him again because we don't. But also, why did he have semi-truck tires? I didn't think about that at all.
It's never explained either. It's just, oh, Rung's the bad guy. Avocados, what the fuck are you doing with it? What are you doing with the semi, sir?
Oh my god, that's a great observation. I'm surprised that I didn't catch that, honestly.
But
also, he disappears in the fog while they're tracking him.
But he's never seen again.
No, he's not. But the funny thing is that when they, are pulling up through the fog, they do find the semi-truck, the ghost one.
Yeah.
It's just chilling.
Now, it is implied here that George Avocados followed that same trail, saw the semi-truck, and then just kept driving.
Yeah. But then I'm also thinking Rung is just hanging out in the truck.
He's just chilling in the truck.
What are you doing? Because they're about to get, they're getting a closer look of the truck. Velma's, wiping on the paint, this is painted to look old. Fred's literally about to open the driver's side door, and that's when, the truck just springs to life. So, for one... Fred should have just opened the door anyway, because wouldn't have Rung just been there? He would have been sitting in the driver's seat.
My question is, because this happens every once in a while, where they're just about to, figure it out, and then something happens. And we know from, a few episodes ago that they can't...
That's come to their mind before.
Yeah, but they can't do it until Velma knows who it was. But specifically, I want to know what would have happened, because... Even, when you pull off Rung's mask or, open the door and see that Rung's there, he's still in the semi. He can still run you over. The threat is still there.
But see, now my other question is that it's never explained. How is no one able to see Rung driving the truck?
I think he has tinted windows.
Is that what you think is going on?
I'm assuming.
Okay, that's just kind of a weird then. Why would you say that no one's driving the truck? You would rather say the windows were tinted.
Maybe they didn't tell. Maybe it's because the paint and, the old lookingness.
I don't know. That's just something I just caught just now. It's wait, so there was no explanation of why Rung would not be visible from the outside. So, yeah. Okay, I will accept that. But the other thing is he's just hanging out in the truck. The truck's off, and it's just in the middle of nowhere in the fog. And he's just
sitting there, everyone.
Rung, you have a date. Go to Daphne.
Why are you just sitting? You're I should go do that date, but I'm gonna sit in this empty truck instead. That's why your ladder sales are still low. Get on it.
Because you're not doing your work.
Yeah, like, get on your life, please.
Oh my god. So, they have another chase scene, and I don't really remember how it ends because I didn't write it down.
That's the one that ends with Fred pulling into the thing and turning his lights off.
Oh, okay.
Because then he looks at the whole gang and he's like, shh.
Oh, because that matters, Fred, but okay.
I don't know, Rung can hear.
From the semi-truck?
Yeah. I want to know, like, what music he listens to while he's, like, chasing people off the road. Like, is it just, like, I'd like to imagine it's, like, classical music.
Casually runs the cop off the side of the cliff.
Just, like, just classical music blaring.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I like to imagine.
They do end up getting away from the truck, though. Rung is now on his way back to the Bloody Stake. He shows up and he says, "I'm sorry that I'm late, Daphne. Ladder sales are climbing through the roof."
He's just full of puns and I hate him.
It. Yes. And then the gang show up a little bit later because Rung has already like stolen Daphne's salad and is eating the salad. And he's like, "So
what'd you order for yourself?
Yeah, are you gonna eat something?" Like, okay, for one, you're an asshole.
Douchebag.
But yeah, now the gang's here and they're like, Daphne. And she's like, "Oh my god, guys, this sounds great. This sounds a lot more interesting."
Yeah, she's like, "Please help me. Get me out of here."
Fred introduces himself excitingly to Rung, asking about his ascot. And he tells him, "I wear a 16 and a half around my neck, but sometimes it swells out to a 19.
And Rung, who is this skinny little, like, bitch of a man,
yes,
goes, "I also wear a 16. No, you don't. You wear a 3. Shut the fuck up.
I'm just wondering what kind of condition Fred has to where his neck swells 2.5 inches.
Fred, go to a doctor.
Go to a doctor.
They trade ascots.
For reasons.
I don't know.
Are they just jacking off each other at this point? Like, what the fuck is that supposed to be?
I mean, I'm gonna be honest, like, I don't know ascot culture, but maybe, like, when you see a cool one, you trade.
Rung is kind of like, "Wait, we have a date right now." And Daphne's like, "Sorry, we'll reschedule." And he's like, "Fine." And then he realized that he doesn't have his wallet on him.
Yeah.
So he was just going to show up and then not pay. Like, okay.
He was busy.
I'm all about, like, breaking the gender roles. Like, girls can pay for boys. But here's the thing. Rung asked her on this date.
Yeah, you and I had this conversation because here's my rule. Okay? If you ask someone out, you pay.
Yeah, so I agree.
If I ask out another guy and, like, I pick the place, I pay. I pick the place depending on how much I can afford. So if you're paying, I'm not going to be like, "Hey, let's go to insert super expensive place here." It's super rude to imply that someone should pay a certain amount of money towards you.
Well, I just think, it's just, you're asking someone out. That's kind of your way of saying,
pay.
I want to treat you
Yeah,
out.
I want to take you out.
Exactly. Like, okay.
And so so that was irritating, and Rung's just an idiot, but
Daphne did pay, though.
I mean, she's got the money.
She does. It's just still, she's not happy about it. You can see her face.
And then the thing is, you have to think, like, even when the gang goes out, Daphne doesn't always pay.
No, she doesn't.
And, like, that's something right then and there, because Daphne's got the money to pay for them every single time. She does.
Yeah, but then you also shouldn't be depending on your rich friend either.
No, exactly. And that's what I like about the gang, is they all pay their separate ways. But she has them, and that's what
But
Rich
then again,
does.
they're all well off, though. In this series, they're all pretty well off.
That's true. Yeah, that's fair.
Like, I don't even think that's money is not a concern to the gang in this show.
They're like, whatever, fuck it. So Rung leaves, Scooby sits down and eats Daphne's salad, and he picks up the Bloody Steak menu, and he's like, "Oh, what's this?" And inside of it, somehow, is an envelope stamped with Mr. E's...
mark.
Yeah.
Don't know how the fuck he got it in there.
What did you say? It wasn't, like, you said he had to have stuck it in...
He had to have, like, in advance, put it in the menu and count on the fact that they would be given this menu at the date and then the date would go wrong, and then also they would find the envelope in that menu. Because that menu was on Rung's side of the table.
Yeah.
Like, what would have Rung have done if he had opened the menu and found that envelope?
He would have just been like, what the fuck? Maybe he's also getting letters from Mr. E, so he would have been like, oh shit, another one.
The envelope contains a CD. They put it in the CD player of the mystery machine, and his clue that he's going to give them today for the mystery is that Crystal can't open doors like a diamond.
So I love Velma's response, which is that either means nothing or it's a clue.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's just about everything in life.
Velma.
But she says, we have to treat it like a clue because anything is, going to be a clue until treated different.
Well, and especially if it's coming from Mr. E.
Yeah.
Because at this point, Mr. E kind of plays the part of, like, the clue giver.
Yeah.
He doesn't really come off as antagonistic at all.
Not yet.
He's more so like, I'm going to give you little breadcrumbs so that you guys can solve your mysteries, while I'm doing my own thing elsewhere.
Maybe it's his way of, like, keeping them distracted so he can do his own thing. We'll talk about that later, because we don't want to get into spoilers.
No, I agree. Fred says that what's the context of this?
Somehow they get to the wall.
No, my note says Fred wouldn't let anything happen to any of his pals. But, like, what were they worried about?
So, Daphne says something about, I don't know, just, like, mysteries or something. And somehow it's implied, like, if Daphne was ever in danger, he would never let anything happen to Daphne. Well, of course, because he'd never let anything happen to any of his pals.
Oh, right. And he says that he would see them all. And he says that he sees all of his pals equally.
Yeah. And again, you see Velma and Shaggy just like, dude.
Daphne even looked a little saddened again at this point, too.
Well, she's bummed. She loves Fred.
Yes. I hate it.
It breaks my heart. I'm so hurt.
So my next note is the hidden cave bullshit.
Okay. So I wrote all of this down. All right.
It was infuriating to watch.
So they follow the tracks, and these tracks suddenly lead into a wall. So they're like, well, it must be a secret entrance. So there's a little cut inside the wall. And so Daphne goes to look in there. A bunch of bats come flying out. So I think that Rung, like, recatches these bats every night and puts them in front of the lever. So Daphne pulls the lever, and then all of a sudden another little, like, door opens. Or like a little like window almost, and it's got a triangle and a square, and then in the rock it's cut to be a triangle and square. So
it's like fill in the blocks.
Yeah. So Velma and Fred put those in, and then once they do that, a rock pops up, and it's like a 2-level rock, and it pops up right where Scooby's standing. So he sits on it, and then it goes back down, and that's when the big door opens and they all walk inside.
Huge fucking cave. It's supposed
big enough for a semi.
They walk inside and they found all of the crystal doorknobs. Like, there's literally thousands in there.
There's literally like 1 million doorknobs, and I'm really trying to figure out, because Crystal Cove is a small town, like, how many fucking doors do they have?
My thing is just, I don't understand why he needed to steal the doorknobs.
There was such an easier way.
We'll get to this at the end. I don't understand why he needed to steal them all. But they do also find a diary that belonged to, I think it was Thomas Avocados, George's father, who in the diary admits that he did at one point steal the diamond from the Crystal Cove Bank. I like that when he did it, he was the mayor.
Yeah.
So Thomas Avocados was the mayor at this time, and he stole the diamond. He hid it somewhere in disguise as a crystal doorknob, and that's what Rung is trying to find.
Yeah.
You know?
So as they're walking into the cave also, Velma goes up to Shaggy, and she goes, this could be our secret hangout.
Their little sex cave.
Like, Velma's trying to get it.
Again.
Yeah. I mean, way to go,
Shaggy,
Velma.
Pick up on these hints.
I mean, honestly, in this series, both of the boys are just very thick in the head.
Yes. Scooby picks up on everything, though, I feel like.
I mean, he doesn't...
Not from Velma, but from Daphne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
I think it's just because Velma's directing hers at Shaggy and he doesn't get it, but...
He's like, Shaggy laid? What?
Shaggy in love?
Ew.
What? But, yeah, Shaggy and Fred are, like, really oblivious in this show, and I think it's an interesting dynamic with the gang.
And so as they're walking around the cave, kind of like semi-exploring, all of a sudden the semi-truck busts from the darkness and starts chasing them.
I just cannot fathom how the semi-truck disappears so quickly.
I know.
When you have to go through all those steps that you just listed off to open this cave.
That's what I said, like, the first time I saw it, I was just like, so you're telling me.
He stops the truck, gets out, does all of this bullshit, and then brings the truck in. How does he close it?
I wonder if maybe it's on a timer.
I don't get it.
Or, like, once you're inside, it just takes a button and then it closes.
The timing does not work for this at all. No.
I get that it was a gag, but when you're breaking it down, when two adults are breaking it down for a Scooby-Doo podcast, it does not make sense.
Lots of things in this doesn't make sense. The truck does chase them out. They get in the mystery machine, and they're now heading back into downtown Crystal Cove. The semi-truck destroys the Welcome to Crystal Cove sign. One of many instances we're going to see that sign destroyed or damaged. I'm going to keep a tally for that, as a matter of fact.
It also, like, the mystery machine is going through, like, a bunch of buildings almost.
It's
like
driving
porches.
On the roof at one point.
Yeah.
I again, these things happen so quickly, I don't even bother writing them down. It's just a bunch of action nonsense.
My note for it was Fred's dad is going to be pissed about the property damage.
Oh,
like,
yes,
he's up for re-election, and his son is pulling this bullshit.
They're going to exile the Jones.
Like, fuck off, Fred. We really can't afford this.
They end up driving the van into City Hall. The semi-truck also follows them into City Hall. Fred instigates one of his traps that I didn't bother writing all the steps down because I'm tired of it. It was a bunch of nonsense. But ultimately, the truck gets, like, flipped on this, like, spatula-type trap, and it, like, lands right on top of that shark tank.
Almost right on top.
Yeah, because, I mean, Rung doesn't end up in it. But Fred's dad does end up showing up, and he's like, what is going on? He's also here, like, super late at night, because this is the same night as we saw him earlier when he was released from the trap.
He's also
fucking that intern.
That same intern.
It's the same intern. What?
What if they're fucking each other?
His mom's not in the picture right now.
No?
We'll return to this at another time. Thank you for that.
You were like, well, fuck.
But Rung ends up falling out of the semi-truck, and he's just like, yeah, it was me. Oh, my.
Shock.
He's, like, over it. Like, he's over himself.
He's literally like, okay, yeah, I got caught. Let's move on. Bye.
So, like we said before, he's trying to steal all the crystal doorknobs so he can find that diamond. And Fred's like, okay, but, like, why? You're rich. You have it all. Ladders, ascots. Fred's a really simple man.
He's like, what else could you want? My thing is, Rung, sir, if you put half of the effort that you did into finding the diamond as you did into your ladder company, maybe you wouldn't be so broke.
Here's my thing. Instead of, again, investing time and effort into his company, which he's the heir, he's not the owner.
Yeah.
Like, I'm assuming his father is still in charge.
Like, tell your dad to step it up.
But also, because he's so worried about the company going out of business and going broke because people don't replace ladders like you do with, many other products or services.
TVs or personal trainers over 40.
He was specific on that. I think he had a personal experience with a personal trainer over 40.
Yeah.
But anyway, instead of, like, investing and trying to, fix up his company, he's spending tons of money on a semi-truck, the cosmetics for the semi-truck to spew fire and the ghostly paint, setting up that contraption of a cave on the side of Crystal Cove. Like, my thing is, would it have maybe even just be cheaper and a lot safer on his part for not getting caught if he just hired like a jewel inspector to like, just come with him?
Or just hire an accountant to figure out the way
There's
to make
lots of
money.
solutions here. Like, he can still commit the crime, in my opinion, if he wants to. But I think there were a lot more cost-effective ways of him to do it.
And honestly, the way that I, honest to God, would have done this is grabbed, like you said, like a jewel expert and just been like, hey, so we just found out that one of these doorknobs is a diamond. We need that put on the mayor's office door. It was supposed to be on the mayor's office door, but the guy that installed it screwed up. It is literally one of any of the doorknobs in the town. Like, can you just go, hold on. Okay. Can you just go around and put it on the mayor's door? Let me know when that's done. Then when he comes back and he's like, hey, great, solved it. It's on the mayor's door. That night, boom, go steal the mayor's doorknob. You're done. You have the diamond.
Yeah, but then that would require the jewel inspector to be doing the crime, not him.
But the jewel inspector gets off scot-free. You're not pulling anyone down with you because the jewel inspector doesn't know. He was hired by the city to just fix a doorknob.
Yeah, but you can still get prosecuted if you commit a crime if you also don't know you're doing the crime. Like, you still committed a crime.
Well, no, because he didn't steal anything. All he did was move a doorknob. That's not a crime.
Yeah, but he stole a doorknob from somebody.
No, he replaced the doorknob. He took the one off the mayor's door and put it on that doorknob, and then took that doorknob and put it on the mayor's door. Everybody has a doorknob, just the diamond is on the mayor's door.
There's a crime somewhere in there, Shannon. I don't think you realize
I'm still committing the crime because I steal the mayor's doorknob. So now the mayor has no doorknob. It is with me. I commit the crime.
I still think there's a crime.
I pull no one down with me.
Anyway. My way of doing it was just, I think he should have just hired a jewel inspector, had the jewel inspector come with him when he goes to, find all these crystal doorknobs, and he would just look at it like, okay, no, if that's not the one, let's move on. That way, he's not stealing any doorknobs at all. No one gets a whiff of the fact that the doorknobs are going missing, so then no one, connects the dots, like, oh, maybe this has something to do with Thomas Avogados's diamond theft back in the day.
Yeah. So it's the next day. The crime's been done, solved, whatever.
Rung's in jail.
Yep. So he goes, I, Mr. Jones, your mayor, this is my son who solved the mystery, the future mayor of Crystal Cove, and then blah, 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 a whole bunch of bullshit.
He apologized that they ruined the revenue stream that they would have gotten from the ghost truck. I don't know how you would have gotten any revenue on that because the truck is actually killing people.
Yeah, but sure.
But he did say that the diamond, which they were able to recover, they don't say where it was, but they did find it. But he said that the diamond made up for the revenue that they lost, so it's not like they lost anything.
There you go. He also put in that he is creating a new position called Pizza Affairs.
And he appointed Scooby as it.
Yep. So if there's any pizza issues, Scooby-Doo, the talking dog that we're not sure if he can vote or not, but he can give consent for a tattoo.
He's on city council.
He will solve your pizza problem. And that's it.
Secret of the Ghost Rig. Shannon, what did you award this episode on the Scooby Snack-O-Meter?
I actually gave it a 6.
6? Okay.
I liked it. I think the last episode of Mystery Incorporated, I believe that I gave that one a 6 also.
Creeping Creatures, yeah, that sounds right.
I did like this one more a little bit, but honestly, it still was right there. A 6 is still good. It's still great. Still love it. But just this one wasn't my favorite. It didn't really have anything for the over arc of the series. So
I agree. I actually also gave it a 6.
Okay.
I did enjoy it more than Creeping Creatures. I liked that there were more characters in the story as opposed to the last episode. There were multiple suspects. In the last episode, there weren't really any suspects.
Yeah.
It was kind of obvious who the crocodile people were. But in this case, they had a red herring. It was a pretty convincing red herring. And
to this day, we still don't know what Avocados is doing with his
semi-truck tires. We forgot to mention, too, that Gene or no Treadall, the other person.
Oh, yeah.
That's Rung Ladderton spelled backwards. That was.
So he's super creative.
Oh, yeah, very. But yeah, I thought it was a good episode. Doesn't really contribute to the overarching plot either. Mr. E's role is really minimal here as it was in the previous episode. So I think they're pretty at odds with each other to where I'm comfortable giving it the same rating. So A 6 from me, a 6 from you, a 6 altogether for Secret of the Ghost Ring.
Woohoo!
And because it didn't really have a lot going on with the overarching mystery, we're not going to do a post-episode commentary.
Yeah, there's
not really anything to talk about with this one.
No, there's not. And it doesn't really overarch at all, so...
I'm pretty sure there's one that's coming up soon that has nothing to do with mystery or anything like that. Like, it's just a regular mystery, so we'll have to watch out for those too.
Yeah.
Anyway, are you ready for a fun fact today?
Always.
In Mystery Incorporated, it is established that Fred, his full name is Frederick Jones Jr. Mm-hmm. So we now know, Frederick is his first name. It's kind of assumed that, otherwise he's just called Fred or Freddie. I'm always used to hearing Freddie because my grandpa's name is Fred, or, and my grandpa's actual first name is Freddie. But in the Scooby-Doo and the Mystery Map puppet movie, which I've never watched, as a matter of fact, his first name is given as Fredward.
That's wrong.
Yes. It's an interesting thing. So in some forms of the Scooby-Doo franchise, Fred is not Frederick or Freddie or just simply Fred. But he is Fredward.
Ew.
Don't you love it? I have never even heard that before, that name.
That's gross.
I hope you enjoy that. I hope that haunts you in your sleep, Shannon.
I'm gonna wake up screaming,
Fredward! But thought it was an interesting fun fact for you today.
Yeah.
Next week, we will be moving on to Be Cool Scooby-Doo. Shannon, are you ready to hit the randomizer for what we'll be watching?
Yes.
Okay, here we go.
Next week, you will be joining us while we watch Scary Christmas.
The premise for this episode is coming from Scoobypedia. Daphne just wants to be able to celebrate her birthday, which is right on Christmas Eve, while Fred is determined to solve a Christmas mystery. Unfortunately, all he can get is one with a pterodactyl, which has nothing to do with Christmas.
I fucking remember this one.
The premise is wrong where it says that her birthday is right on Christmas Eve. It actually is Christmas in this show. But yeah, the Christmas mystery is going to involve a pterodactyl, so we'll have to see how this one plays out. I'm excited to see it again. So if you guys would like to talk to us about The Secret of the Ghost Rig or Scary Christmas or anything Scooby-Doo related for that matter, you can find us online. We are on Twitter at Groovy Scoobcast or Tumblr at That Groovy Scoobcast. You can email us at thatgroovyscoobcast@gmail.com or even go to www.thatgroovyscoobcast.com. That's a lot of That Groovy Scoobcast.
And we are also newly on Facebook. So you guys can go like our page, follow us at That Groovy Scoobcast.
We're pretty excited about it. We debated on doing it, but we're doing it.
Hashtag Get Groovy.
Yes. So you guys can go to any of those places. We also recommend you go on iTunes or Stitcher and leave us a review as well. We always appreciate that when you guys do that for us. And with that, we hope that you enjoyed That Groovy Scoobcast.
Come back next week for Scooby Snack Fill time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.